These are the various institutions who work with us. This is something which we built in the middle at Saha Institute called Manos Ship. This is where actually tunnel area underneath the sun, Geneva. It's a huge affair. Just to give you an idea what it is all about. You see the depth of the tunnel, how deep it is. And 27 kilometers long, 9,000 magnets, 8.3 Tesla, costing $15 billion. Now think about that. Why should we build it? Because you want to know. Man wants to know how the universe started. As simple as that. Another picture. Another picture. It's so long that you can hardly walk 27 kilometers every day. So they have this system of having some kind of motor-driven bicycle or whatever. The protons move on 99.99999% of the speed of light and goes for 1 second 11,000 times in that tunnel. Mind-boggling. Vacuum is very high. Vacuum is pumping the air out. If that's not technology, what is it? It's the coldest place on the earth. Microwave radiation, as I mentioned, is slightly higher than 1.9 degrees K. But when the two nuclei collide, it's actually temperature is quite high. It's 100, here it says 100 MeV, which is about 1/10 of a million times hotter than the center of the sun. So what you are creating in the lab is an extraordinary outfit of a microcosmos which is mimicking the universe after its birth, more or less. And one hopes sincerely that as you go along, it will give some idea about how space and time is created. This is again another picture. This is why the Higgs boson was discovered. It's your heart probably. I will skip that because both my authorities are looking at me that time has come to wrap up. So I will wrap up. Higgs boson is a great discovery, but I refrain to go on to it actually. And this is the family of the quarks. Up, charm, top, down, strange, bottom. And electron family are there. And the new forces, Z bosons and W boson, again in the name of Satyendranath Bose boson. And gamma is a boson photon, and G is another particle. Now, it's interesting. There's another man called Murray Gell-Mann who coined the word quark. Now, where does he get the word quark from? It's from Finnegan's Wake of James Joyce, the Irish author. Now, he's Irish, don't forget, right? So he had a soft spot for what happens in taverns, and there's a story I heard recently in Trieste that he used to visit Trieste quite often and contemplating in the back lanes of Trieste, going from one tavern to the next, from one nightingale's nest to the other, whatever that may mean. You may ask me, I can explain, but not now. And there he came along a book in Finnegan's Wake with 3 lines. 3 quarks for Master Mark. Sure, he hasn't got much of a bark, and sure, any he has is all beside the mark. And the word quark, James Joyce said quark, but Murray Gell-Mann wanted to pronounce it quark. Quark is a name which is seagull's cry. Eventually got stuck. Essentially, it comes from 3 quarts for Master Mark and so on. I think if somebody very enthusiastic at a reasonably advanced stage like mine can do a research of Finnegan's Wake and Murray Gell-Mann and quark, a small thesis, it will be interesting. This is the Higgs boson. Let's skip it, as I promised. Now, Peter Higgs is a very nice British gentleman. He is not a typical type of long hair, poor chap is bald, but his hair is not that long. And he's a sort of steady chap, you know what I mean? He not goes around looking almost mad like Einstein, but his discovery is one of the most fundamental discoveries of the last century. This is the discovery of Higgs boson at CERN, for which they got the Nobel Prize, 127 GeV, and that I might say is a building block why everything has a mass. Why do you have mass? Why molecules have mass? Why atoms have mass? Why genes have mass? Why enzyme has mass, etc. Why? This is at CERN, and some of my colleagues didn't believe that we built it, so it was teasing them. I took that picture. It's another collaboration of Alice collaboration. Even there is a young boy who used to come with their parents because there is nowhere to look after him, and I believe he's taking keen interest on the experiment. I finished now. Big Bang. All matter is compressed into space billions of times smaller than a proton. Now that's the origin of all our activities, all our lives and so on. The arrow of time and space. This universe today from the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago. What do you see today? Many things. Horsehead Nebula, beautiful. It's a spiral galaxy. It's a Milky Way. It's a supernova explosion, 1987A, if you like. This is the dark matter I mentioned. And now the budgeting of matter, dark energy is 73%, dark matter is 23%, and the visible matter is very small, 0.4% only. And we make all our plans, we make all our battles, we make all our fashion show, all our so-called magic on the basis of 0.4% or less than that of the universe mass. This is something we presented to CERN called Nataraj, and people come and see it. So sometimes they wonder why Nataraj is sitting at CERN with this large Hadron Collider and Nataraj, because Nataraj symbolizes to us a God which creates and destroys. Exactly the same thing is happening in Large Hadron Collider. The proton gets destroyed and new particles are created, including Higgs boson. So I come to the end now. I've done about just right? 45 minutes? Yeah. No, this is end. Up until now, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard the heightened sensitivity of the beauty and aesthetics of science, and to some extent literature. But there also lies the history of mankind, dotted with the fathomless misery inflicted by man on mankind by using science. The two atomic bomb explosions that fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan are a reminder of their horror, where thousands of people perished. Robert Oppenheimer, the architect of the atomic bomb, along with the best of America and England, got eventually disenchanted. Quoted from Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavad Gita is not a scripture, my friends. It's the most extraordinary book. It has got everything in it, except religion, in my opinion. Go to vision of the cosmic form towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, and then Krishna says, I am death, the mighty destroyer of the world, out to destroy. The contemporary world, another great horror story, is the phenomenon of climate change and its terrible irreversible consequences. The prospect of the sea level going up and the depletion of ozone layer above the pole caps, leading to rapid increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the greenhouse effect, along with the increase of global temperature, and all this is because of human beings. The beautiful blue earth is being vandalized by its inhabitants. Mindless proliferation of technology at the cost of ecology may improve the material life for a while, but the quality of life will be reduced to digital messages across the world with no human beings. We can then hear the British poet W.H. Auden's remarkable line, distant roar of thunder across the picnic. With the background of the distant roar of thunder, if one can hear the gentle whisper of the beauty and aesthetics of science and literature, then life becomes worth living in this beautiful blue planet. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Question?
Of course, there will be, I'm sure. There will be a microphone going around.
Hey, have you woken up? My God, man, that's fantastic. I thought you were peacefully sleeping. Why people wake you up?
Because there's some water.
Hmm?
Would you like some water?
That'll be nice, actually. Yes, sir. ঠিক আছে জলটা?
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for your marvelous and magical presentation.
Thank you.
Sir, but three things I'd like to, since you said about the beauty aesthetics of science and poetry, even Oppenheimer, when he described the nuclear bomb, he takes this poetry from to describe a scientific phenomenon, he borrows from poetry of the Gita. So that is one beautiful thing. I think, sir, the one thing you said about the science and poetry and what you call even spirituality are trying to explore the universe in its own way. So I'd like to ask you about the wonderful friendship with Tagore, J.C. Bose and Sister Nivedita had while exploring different fields and the convergence they had in exploring the nature. So could you throw some light on their
Well, there's a lot of work
we've
we've done on the relationship between Acharya J.C. Bose and Rabindranath Tagore. And I must say, I've not done a great deal of study, but some study. And it's interesting. You see, they come from a different kind of situation altogether. But one was attracted by each other, as it were. Why? I think one of the most fundamental ingredients of the relationship is the fact when J.C. Bose left physics from the so-called microwave radiation, for which he should have definitely got the Nobel Prize, but that was missed up on him, by Marconi the Italian, but went on to do research to prove that there is some sensation on trees and the reaction to electrical pulses on. Very unfortunately, if I can say in Bengali, we are taught when in school, very, very unfortunate. What has J.C. Bose discovered? Gacher pran ache. No, this is ridiculous. I mean, that's putting it very mildly. I mean, gacher pran ache maneta ki? Are the pran going like this or what? What he discovered was not explained to us correctly. But I think what Tagore was excited about, Rabindranath, is the fact that in the concept of J.C. Bose, plants had a role to play in human existence. And that's exactly what Brahmabad is all about. So this is a spiritual connect, as it were, which I think attracted each other. Although they come from very different background, very different upbringing, and so on and so forth. But they became very close for that reason, I think. That's my interpretation. You may not have to agree with that.
Sir, your poetry, that cosmological constant, is quite similar to the idea of Atman in the Vedas and the Upanishads, that there's the undying, indestructible soul, going through various experiences, visiting various galaxies.
You see, I did not elaborate. I mean, everybody has their own view. What is Atma? You see, if there is Atma, there will be traffic jam upstairs, billions of people, Atma hanging around. It's no good. But from a purely scientific point of view, you see, your temperature is 97.4, I hope, right? You're not too cold? No, right. So, I mean, what does happen when a person dies to this energy? That, I think, is better to believe, or I believe, death is a phenomenon by which the internal entropy of a human being gets diluted or mixed up with the eternal entropy of the universe. That's what happens. So he's dead. That's what death is all about, I guess. This, I think, Rabindranath said that in a different way, actually.
Sir, do you think that S.N. Bose and Meghna Saha were denied the Nobel Prize, but they were unlucky or unfortunate in not getting the Nobel Prize?
দেখুন স্যার কিছু মনে করবেন না তখন it was British Raj, right? C.V. Raman got through because he was very friendly with Lord Rutherford, who got the Nobel Prize discovering nucleus, not in physics, in chemistry, by the way. And C.V. Raman was C.V. Raman, C.V. Raman was C.V. Raman because, do you know, he got the ship ticket before the Nobel Prize was announced to Sweden. That's incredible, his confidence. But he was lucky. I mean, Bose certainly should have got the Nobel Prize. Saha should have got the Nobel Prize. There was an effort for Saha to get the Nobel Prize by American physicists. But at that time, the British were very strong, and don't underestimate British imperialism thought at that time, actually. At that time. Now this whole thing is reversed. Now we were discussing earlier. I think now we are going to dominate Britain, right? Any more question, please? Yes, please.
Do you believe there is any God in the universe?
Sorry?
Do you believe there is any God? Oh, yeah. Sir, do you believe there is any God in the universe who has created the universe by definite laws of physics?
I
or-
get asked this question every time.
Yeah.
How does it look like?
No, but yeah, how do you define? Is there any
This
God?
is the trouble. The old,
Or do we stop believing in God?
I don't believe in God. No. I believe in energy, Shakti, Brahma. And I'm told off by my family because I don't believe in God. I mean, God has a very tough time, you know. We can't manage our own little country. And God has to manage the entire universe. Can you imagine? Poor fellow.
He has to go for a coalition.
Yes.
In our philosophy, there is Urdhva Mula Avak Shakha, Esho Asatta Sanatana. I mean, in our philosophical saying, we have taught that the Urdhva Mula Avak Shakha, Esho Asatta Sanatana, means they have conceived the idea as a tree whose root is in this root, and from root we have expanded this universe. So this corroborates your Big Bang theory, because the universe was at one point of time it was compressed like anything, then there was a Big Bang, and it was expanded into this galaxy, world, sun, moon, so on and so forth. So it was in our philosophy for thousands
See,
of years.
I will quote Meghna Saha. Meghna Saha once got very angry. He was quite an angry young man, actually. He said that তোরা যা বলবি সবই তো ব্যাদে লেখা আছে. So, I mean, that probably answers your question. Sorry. But you are the chair, so.
Thank you, sir, for your beautiful lecture. I just want to ask a very simple question. Like, you're talking about beauty and aesthetics in science, and very often us, the common people, have an idea that symmetry is something to do with beauty and aesthetics. Whereas when you show the picture of the universe from the Big Bang and so on, it looks very asymmetric. So how do you relate beauty, aesthetics, and symmetry?
Very interesting question. You see, the funny thing is, when symmetry is restored, there is no creation. And the creation happens because symmetry breaks. Now, that's extraordinary, I think, in science. I didn't want to say that because that's out of the way. Once the symmetry, total symmetry is restored, in some sense, some scientists have been working on the idea of the Big Bang, that all the symmetries were restored. So there is no creation. And as the universe expands, the symmetry keeps breaking, and the many things come out, including quarks and so on and so forth. So the beautiful, how do I say, sort of contradiction is the symmetry is not beautiful. The breaking of the symmetry is beautiful. Right? Does that make sense to you?
I'm not a student of science at all, sir, right?
That's okay.
Now,
I was a student of science.
I'm quite sure. Otherwise, your lecture would not have been at this level. But coming down to the very basics of taking an interest in science and study, I noticed that in schools, children are very reluctant and find both mathematics and physics, chemistry, etc. Studies in school very hard and tough, and they are easily swayed away from it, you know, some little excuse to get away. If I asked you to present this lecture of yours, which you did to an adult audience over here, to school kids, right, to motivate them to take an interest in the central theme or focus of your chapter today, which might excite them the way it excited you to take on science in your life. How would you go about it?
You're absolutely right, madam. In fact, this little experience that I have going to villages, I don't go to any school in towns. Do you know why? Because I don't trust the parents. Very simple. The parents have some strange ideas in cities about education. To them, most parents, not everybody, Education means a series of degrees and a job. That's not all. Education means many other things. But when I go to the interior, in rural areas, these kids are wonderful. The mind is open, they're open to understanding their own things in their own way. And no such surprising, the great Tagore went to Shantiniketan to teach. You know, I mean, there's something wrong with our cities, actually, in terms of culture. To answer your question, it's very important to teach the youngsters the beauty and aesthetics of science at a very early age, so that they don't get frightened about science or mathematics and so on. Mathematics also is very beautiful. But the way it's taught, I mean, the way I was taught physics in Presidency College, I'll never forget that. It's so beautifully taught, you know, difficult subject and so on. But now to get a good teacher is also very difficult. They want to make it complicated because that will make them feel good. Ah, they didn't understand me. Great, I've done a fantastic job. That's not true, you know.
Do you think that they are unable to think in terms of patterns? Because essentially, in learning, whether it's science or humanities or art, aesthetics, essentially it is all about patterns. You must be able to see the great scientists have, beginning from Einstein, have always insisted, try to see patterns in algebra, in geometry, even and in
In fact,
theoretical
you're absolutely right. You're very knowledgeable, madam. I'm most impressed.
no,
In
not
fact,
at all.
Richard Feynman had a Feynman diagram. And those diagrams simplify lots of mathematical equations, which we use in our calculation. So also, diagram has another great virtue. It visualizes the whole thing in front of you. But I can't draw you a nice picture of the universe. So those wretched pictures of the universe are not quite accurate, you know, because the universe is huge, right? There was a question here, I think. Sorry. Yeah. No, please.
Professor Sinha, I had a small question. I'm not a science student by any means, and you gave a fascinating lecture. But you know, listening to you, I am drawn back to the original conversation between Tagore and Einstein about truth. The truth that exists independent of human beings, as Einstein claimed, and the truth which is a matter of perception.